and welcome back. Here we are, another strength video for me, and as always I'm going to try to keep this around 30 minutes. Never know quite how long it's going to last, but I do try to keep it pretty short. I just do one set of everything. You're more than welcome to do multiple sets. Everything that we do, for the most part, I'm asking you to try and do about 10 to 15 repetitions. So you want to try and choose a weight that is gonna keep you somewhere in there. You don't want to go to the point of you do want to go to the point of feeling challenged, but not to the point of your form falling completely apart when you get to your last few repetitions. So I will stop and talk sometimes in the middle of some of these sets, and I ask that you just keep going. Okay, so we're going to start. Let me tell you first some things that I'm going to use today. I'm going to use an exercise ball. I am going to use some kettlebells. I've only got a heavy and a light. So if there's stuff that requires using both arms with the same weight, you can grab two of anything around your house that happen to be the same weight. I've got 2 cans of soup. These hardly weigh anything at all. I know you've got at least that. And then also an exercise band. And adding on something today, a step. So I'm going to be doing some step ups onto this little bench. If you don't have something like this or something sturdy, you probably have some stairs somewhere near you that you can go and do some of these things on. All right, so we're going to get started with our warm-up. And one of my favorite things to do warm-up wise in a big room is something I did in volleyball. We would do shuffle, skip, run. So we're shuffling first. And first, if you want to just do it in place, you can kind of just shuffle like this, okay? But if you want to make this movement bigger, you're going to shuffle across the room. I don't have a whole lot of space here, but just stay light on your feet. You're staying on the balls of your feet. Your knees are soft. You're already thinking about keeping your core engaged, keeping your body in good alignment as you move from side to side, getting everything warmed up, especially those legs, the hips, the feet, the ankles, all that stuff. Okay, done with the shuffle. We're going to do a skip. So you could do something so if you're not jumping, what you're going to do is this, okay? Or add that hop. We're going to add the arms here as well, okay? So I'm really moving my arms, big movement. And again, I'm staying on the balls of my feet and landing softly. Again, soft knees, strong core, and of course, I am breathing. Okay, now run. I'm just going to jog in place. Okay, easy jog, or you can go high with those knees if you want. You can reach the arms up overhead. So again, we're just getting everything kind of warmed up as we start to lift some weight. Okay, so one more thing we're going to do for a warm-up. Normally I do these across the room as well, and we call them inchworms for that reason, but I'm going to do mine in place. So I'm going to start standing with soft knees. I'm going to bend forward. I'm going to walk my hands out to a plank. I'm going to lower myself down. I'm going to lift up into a back bend or a cobra. Tuck the toes. Go back to a down dog. And then walk your hands back to your feet. And now this is an important movement here. With strong legs and glutes, hamstrings and glutes, stand up, okay? Bend forward, walk forward, lower, cobra, down dog, walk your hands back. Stand up, go back down. Walk forward. You can lower down from your knees too, lower. You can push up through your knees, go back to your down dog, and then stand up, and I'm going to do one more. So just kind of stretching the backs of the legs, as well as using and strengthening the backs of the legs and the back itself. Okay, the warm-up, okay? So the first thing that we're gonna do is a sumo squat. So normally when we do our squats, our feet are about hip distance apart. We're gonna go wider this time. We're gonna turn the knees and the toes out. So we're working a little more inner thigh strength as we come up from being down in our squat. So I'm gonna use weight just by holding it. Goblet squat, holding it at my chest. You can grab anything. Turn your knees and your toes out wide. And you're gonna inhale going down and exhale going up. Inhale, exhale, squeeze. So remember the reason why we exhale, we want to exhale when we're lifting weight on the hardest part of the movement. Okay, so for most of us, coming back up is going to be the hardest part. And so that's where we really want to use that exhale to engage our core muscles, to stabilize the hips and the spine, especially as we're coming up from the ground. So we're coming up in good alignment. My back is long. Of course, I'm not overarching and I'm not hunching and rounding, right? Shoulders back, chest open, knees wide. My knees do not go forward past my toes. They stay behind the toes. So getting about 10 to 15 and then take a break. All right, next one we're gonna do is a hand release push-up. So just like a regular push-up, but we're gonna go all the way down to the ground, let go with our hands, and push our bodies all the way back up from the floor, which is a lot harder than a regular push-up. So, really important form here, as with everything else. So I'm gonna show you from the knees. You can do this from the knees or the toes. I'm gonna lower as slowly as I can. Bring the elbows in, and in one straight line without collapsing in the shoulders, without collapsing the belly towards the ground. Keep the belly lifted, come all the way down, release your hands, and then in one straight line from your knees to the crown of your head, pull your belly up away from the ground first, stabilize your shoulders, and push back up. Okay, so inhale, release, push. Keep going. Stay in your body. Stay with your breath. Inhale going down, exhale going up. Pull that navel in. Try to keep your neck in line with the rest of your spine. It's really easy to let your head drop below your chest when you're doing your push-ups. It's also really common to lose the stability in your shoulder blades as well as your spine. So only do, if you get to 5 and you're like, I'm done, then great. That's your set. I'm going to do 2 more. Getting hard. Oh my gosh. And then you can press back into a child's pose for a minute and stretch out through those arms. And now we'll come up, slowly come back up to your feet. All right. Reverse flies. No, actually, let's do our step-ups first, okay? So I kind of like to alternate upper body, lower body, just to give the body, the upper, the lower body a chance to rest for a second before we continue on. Believe me, not resting the body and just doing all upper or all lower or whatever, that's fine too. This is just the way I'm doing it. Okay, so step-ups. I'm going to make sure that you have a really sturdy bench or step or whatever to come up onto. And so you're going to face the step, hips forward. When you step up, you want to try to prevent your knee coming way forward past your toes, right? So when I lower down, I'm actually going to bend my back knee. And this is kind of my step back stance. And then I'm going to push off from my right heel, and I'm going to step up to the bench. So I'm going to lower down, drop that back knee, step up to the bench. Now, go ahead. I haven't quite started. If you want to grab weight, go for it. I'm going to start with my left leg because my left leg is weaker. I'm going to hold my weight at my chest. And make sure your whole foot is on the bench. Your heel should not be hanging off. Most important, your heels should not be hanging off. Maybe a few of your toes that shouldn't be happening either. Okay, so I'm gonna start in that lunge. I'm gonna step up. Now I like to lift my knee up at the top. Makes it a little more challenging for your balance. Inhale, going down and back. Exhale, coming up. Now when you're coming up, I want you to really think about pushing off from the heel of the foot that's on top of the bench. Exhale up. Inhale. Make sure you're lowering down with control as well. Also, note the knee. The knee not only is behind the toes, but it's not wavering in and out. It's staying nice and straight over the foot. I'm going to do one more. Whew. I'm planning on going biking today after this, so I don't want to kill myself. Okay, let's do the other side. Right foot up. Grab my weight. Hips forward. Step back a little bit with that back foot. Drop the knee. This is your starting position. And then push off from your right heel to come up. Inhale. So really try to slow down that left foot stepping back. So you're not just, falling back. Inhale down. That part of the exercise is just as important as coming up on top of the bench. Core is stable. Inhale, exhale. And shoot for about 10 to 15 with or without weight. But go to that point where you feel challenged, but you're still strong and you still have good form in your body. You feel no pain. All right. I think I'm about even. I never count because I talk too much. Okay, so now we're going to do our reverse flies. So we're working the back, and we've done these before. I did these with a lunge combination. So this time I'm going to be bent forward a little bit more and just hold here. And the movement of a reverse fly looks like this from the side, looks like this from the front. So try not to let your shoulders move up and down, okay? From the back, squeeze, squeeze, okay? So you can use weight, 2 weights, no weight. You can use a band underneath your feet. When I do the band underneath my feet, I usually cross, and we're gonna pull, squeeze, squeeze. So make sure when you're doing these that you're not, keep going, you're not bent over this far where your shoulders are at your hips or below your hips. You're above your hips. Your spine is long. Squeeze. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. You should feel this a bit in your triceps as well as the back of your shoulders too. I have a much harder time doing these with the band for some reason. I'm going to do 2 more. 2, 1. Mostly the position of the arms, because when I'm holding the band, I'm kind of here. And really you want your arms to be rotated more that way as best as you can. You'll feel that differently in the shoulder and the back. Okay. So now we're going to go back to our bench. And this time I'm going to step up from the side. And I'm going to add some abduction with my leg that's lowering down. When I come up to the bench, I'm going to extend it out to the side. So don't start quite yet, but make sure you're standing in the middle of the bench, or maybe just slightly to the side of it, but not to the point where it's going to fall over, of course. So here's my starting position from my side lunge. Okay, I'm starting like this. I'm going to step up, and I'm going to extend my leg out to the side. So forward, it looks like this. Lunge, extend. So I am bending forward slightly at the hips. I'm not rounding forward. I'm hinging at my hips and slightly bent forward. And then when my leg comes out to the side, it's rotated inward just slightly like I'm pigeon-toed. I'm gonna go out, and that's gonna hit that abductor a little bit better. So I'll grab my weight, reluctantly hold it at my chest, and I'll start with my left foot up on the bench first, and step up and abduct. Inhale, coming down. Remember to really squat down low and get your hips back so that my left knee is not coming forward past my toe. Try to come down with control. Sometimes that's harder than coming up. I'm gonna do 2 more. Oh. Okay. Remember to grab water as you need it. I'm gonna grab a little water. Okay. Other side. Right foot up. Squat down, knee behind the toes, lower with control. Lunge. Sit back, push out to the side through the heel. Of course, your core should be extremely strong, your spine stable as you're moving your hips, your shoulders. One more. Oh my God. My legs are killing me. I went biking yesterday too. Gotta take advantage of this good weather. With so much smoke. We're gonna have rain soon. Okay, so now I'm going to do a lat pull down. So in the gym, you see people doing this, sitting down at a machine and pulling down to the chest. Now what you might see some people do is they're pulling behind their head. You don't want to do that. That is extremely unsafe for the shoulders. When your arm gets back here and you add weight to it, that's what dislocates your shoulder, okay? So when you're pulling down to work your upper back and your middle back, your lats, you want to pull to the chest, okay? So from the side, it looks like this. From the back, this, okay? So I'm thinking also about lifting my chest up to whatever I'm pulling down as much as I'm pulling that thing down to my chest. Now, you can do this with weight, not quite as effective, and you can do it without any weight, where you're doing the same movement and you want to just really focus on squeezing your muscles as you pull back. And another nice thing to do when you're at home is just to grab a band and make sure that your knees are soft. And I'm going to start high. I'm going to pull to the chest. Okay, squeeze. This is really light, so I'm going to keep rolling that band up until I can really feel my back muscles. Hopefully you can see that. I'm pulling my elbows back and in. Elbows back and in. Chest towards the band. Now, what I also see a lot of people do is this. Okay, I'm going to over-exaggerate. So make sure, keep going, that you're not moving your spine. You're not hyperextended. You're not rounded. Perfect position. Perfect curves in the back. Squeeze. Squeeze. Squeeze the elbows back. I'm going to do one more, two more. All right. Always good to work that back body. Okay. Now, we've done kettlebell swings before. I'm going to refresh. We're going to do a round of kettlebell swings, and then we're going to add on to it, okay? So, I'm going to grab my lighter weight for now. If you want to do a heavy weight, but pretty shortly, I'm going to start doing single arm swings, okay? So, double arm swings. Remember, the motion is this. Hips back, hips forward. It's not arch back, okay? Straight spine. And for now, I'm really only bringing the kettlebell up to about my shoulders. Now, when I go for my single arm, remember that when we're doing single arm, we want to move that free arm along with the arm that's swinging, okay? Do a couple here. And then switch and do a couple on this side. Really strong exhale as you come up, up. Okay, now, what I'm going to add to this is a movement that's called a clean. That starts with a swing, and then basically you bring the weight up to your shoulder. Okay, so without any weight from the side, looks like this. Okay? With a kettlebell, you want to be really careful of how it lands so it's not putting a lot of weird pressure, okay? So let me show you from the front. We're going to swing, clean, swing, clean. From the side, swing, clean. Notice how it's landing. Keep going. This is how I land, okay? Swing, clean. And this is strong, right? Swing, clean. Okay, now let's do that on the other side. We're going to add on one more thing at the end. Swing, swing, clean. Swing. Keep that wrist strong. So really, keep going. The kettlebell is just kind of doing this in my hand, right? I'm not doing all this weird stuff with my wrist. Okay, when you feel pretty even, option is to add on an overhead press from your clean. If you don't feel good with that, then just keep working on your swing with a clean, or maybe you're still just sticking with your regular swings if you're still getting the hang of that, okay? So I'm going to start, because I started on my right, I'm going to swing, clean, press, swing, clean, press. Keep going. This will get your heart rate up. So you probably won't do 15 of these. You might. Make sure when you're doing that overhead press, you keep your shoulder down, away from your ear. Nice straight arm coming up. I'm going to do two more. These feel good. Okay? So again, I should have said this on the first side. Here's the position of my arm as I'm pressing up. Okay? I'm starting here and up. Here. So notice how my arm rotates. Elbow in, elbow out, elbow in, elbow out as I'm pressing overhead. Okay, other side, swing, clean, press, and go. Swing, clean, press. Core is strong. Sometimes I put my hand up on my shoulder like this, just to remind me to keep that shoulder stable and down. You might put your hand on your belly to remind you to stay stable and strong there. Strong exhale as you're coming up. Make sure you are not arching your back. If you're getting tired, you might be doing that. Ooh, this is my weak arm. I'm gonna do 2 more. Last one. Ooh, that last one was kind of crappy. Oh boy. Oh, those feel good though. Okay, what are we at? We're at 25 minutes. Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna do 2 more things. And one is gonna be a hip thrust. You can certainly do a couple different ways. You can do on the ground, and it's gonna be basically, you're gonna have weight on your hips, and we're gonna lift up and lower, okay? That's one way of doing it. You can also use your bench and make sure you're nice and secure. This bench likes to slide a little bit, but I'll show you. So basically, I would have the weight on my hips, and I'd lower and lift, lower. So just have more range of motion, right? And this might be a little hard on the neck, so you're gonna keep that chin tucked. And then you also can certainly use a ball, an exercise ball. But I would suggest putting it against a wall. But you're gonna do basically the same thing you would do on, so say this is against a wall and you've got the weight on your hips, just like the bench. This one you might feel like if your ball is big enough that you have enough support for the neck, okay? So, dare I grab my heavy weight? Oh my God. I'm not gonna grab my heavy weight. I'm gonna grab my lighter weight. What did I do with it? Okay, here we go. And I'm gonna use the bench. So, again, you can do this on the floor as well. The weight is right on your hips, front of your hips. I'm gonna lower and squeeze. Now this weight is light enough, I'll admit, that I can put my hand behind my head. Keep going. I'm just gonna kind of experiment with doing this on the ground with my heavier weight. See what that feels like. I've got 18 pounds and I've got 35 pounds. So, yes, that's a lot more doable for me. So you're basically doing a bridge lift. You do want to squeeze your glutes, but not super tight, okay? You can also take your feet a little further away from you, and you're going to feel that more in your hamstrings. You can flex your feet, lift your toes, squeeze. And I'm going to relax. And I'm going to do one more thing before I do a little bit of core work at the end. Do some tricep dips on my bench, my folding stool that I hope does not fold on me. Okay, so when you're on a bench, you're gonna take your feet out, shoulders back, okay? So it's really easy for the shoulders to rotate forward like this. Shoulders back, and you're gonna bend and straighten. Bend, straighten. And that's it. If you want to make it really hard, lift a leg. Shoulders back and down. Chest stays open the whole time. Elbows pointed straight back behind you. Inhale coming down, exhale coming up. Three, two, one, and relax. Shake it out. Okay, going to do one more thing for the core, which I'm going to use my exercise ball. If you don't have an exercise ball, I forgot to mention this earlier, you can use 2 plates or washcloths, anything that's going to slide where you're at, okay? So on the ball, this is what it looks like, okay? So you start, your hands are kind of in a karate chop position. I call this the forward ball roll. You start with your hands by your hips, not up here. Back by your hips, close to your body. Now I'm going to slowly roll. I'm going to keep my arms in really close to my body, keep my shoulders really stable. I'm going to fall in one straight line from the knees to the crown of the head, and then I'm going to roll all the way back up. Now, here's what I see a lot of people do. And that is not the same thing. Your butt does not go back at all. It stays slightly tucked and doesn't move. So, out and in. It's like you're falling forward. You catch yourself out here and you push down through your forearms to come back up. Now keep going. You can do this with your hands here. And what I would suggest is not going out as far. It's hard. Whew. Okay, here's what I'm going to suggest. If you're using plates, it's to come out one arm at a time and then bring one arm back in at a time. And then just alternate, which I forgot to do, the arm that's pulling in. Keep going. You should feel this in your core. Your shoulders should not be moving around. They're stable. Your spine is stable. All right. Now on that last one, come out and hold it. And bring it in and stretch. So bring your hands up on the ball and let your chest just drop, let your head drop. Big deep breaths. I'm going to come up about halfway. I'm going to take my arm over to the side, ball over to the side, and I'm going to drop the chest. And do that on the other side. Drop the chest. All right. And you can just stay seated and bring your arms up over your head and grab your right wrist and give that arm a pull and bend over to the left. And back up, grab your left wrist and bend to the right. Come back up. Bring your hands behind your back. You're going to interlace your fingers. And shoulders back, chest forward. Try not to lock your elbows here. Keep your elbows slightly bent. Lift your chest up to the sky. And then you can bow forward and just bring the crown of your head down to the ground. Lift your hips up off your heels. Bring your hands out in front of you. Stretch back to a downward facing dog pose. And walk your feet forward to your hands. Stay in that forward fold. Go ahead and clasp your hands behind your head. Interlace your fingers together. Don't pull on your head, but just add a little extra weight and sway from side to side. And come up halfway, straighten your back. And as you exhale, fold. And come all the way up to standing. Arms overhead. And bring your hands to your heart. Let's get a little stretch for the neck. So grab onto the side of your head with your right hand. And gently draw your right ear to your shoulder. And just reach out through your left arm. And bring your chin down to look down at the ground. And back to the side, arms overhead. Switch. And bring the head down. Let's get that quad stretch so you can go over to a wall if you want. Grab onto a foot. And try not to arch your back. Keep your rib cage pulled in, belly pulled in, knees close together. And other side. And then we'll get a little stretch for the outer hip and inner thigh. So standing, figure 4, cross the ankle, and just sit down. You can do this at a wall too. Try not to, really easy to round the back. Keep your spine straight, sit your butt back. And switch sides. Good. And then face forward. And just get a nice stretch for your inner thighs here. Little kind of goddess pose. Dip your shoulder over to one side. And then switch. Go back to center, arms up. And we are done. Thank you so much for joining me again. I hope you had fun. I hope you feel good and strong. If you have any questions or comments, please comment below or contact me directly. And do subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Namaste. See you soon.